In this video, I want to talk about LAW PreDiscovery imaging settings. This is by no means a complete summary of every tool and every feature in LAW PreDiscovery's imaging, but simply my thoughts on what are the important options and what you should keep an eye on when imaging in LAW. So let's take a look. I'm going to jump right into tiff options, and I'm going to start going from the top down. Adobe, this is pretty much the most useless option here. We're just going to skip right over it and go right to email. This option deals with Lotus Notes emails. If you ever use Lotus Notes email, you know they have a special header on top. And LAW PreDiscovery allows you to use Lotus Notes itself to convert emails to tiff, preserving that header on top. And I've seen a lot of passionate discussions over this specific option. Some people say HTML version of Lotus Notes is perfectly fine, it captures all the metadata and you don't need anything. And others saying no, the original Lotus Notes emails has that header with the picture, with the email should be preserved exactly how it appears in Lotus Notes, otherwise you're doing something bad. So it's a little bit of a pain to set it up. Sometimes just checking it off may not work, or it may not communicate with Lotus Notes properly. But if you have an issue where your client just demands Lotus Notes emails to look like they came from original program, this is where you would set that. Moving on to Excel, as a general rule, you don't want to tiff Excels, and most people don't. But if you do need to image it for redactions, I found imaging it in landscape with auto-size columns, turning on grid lines and so on is very helpful. You do want to have a page order over and down, which helps with readability. The two options that sort of questionable here is remove repeating rows and remove repeating columns. So if somebody has like a header row that stays with you as you scroll, it's certainly helpful when the document is imaged and you know what column that is. However, I've seen situations where repeating rows on top would take up half a page or more, and so only a little portion of the page would change and everything on top would be static. So you would triple the size of your document by having repeated rows on. I still prefer to have it on unless I find the problem. In that case, you can use these options to turn it off. You would remove the repeating rows and columns, and then the whole page changes and you don't really know what the column is, but sometimes that's fine. And lastly, on the bottom, daytime field. So again, this is kind of controversial here, or widely debated, I would say. And I like to show field codes because that's just, if somebody puts a field current date, well, just put a date in brackets and that's what it'll be. Some people like to have it replaced with modified date, which I think is a valid option, but not necessarily guarantee that's the correct date that's meant to be in that field. Show field codes seem to be the best option there. Moving on to general, we can limit output of certain file types by a certain number of pages. I don't think I like that option. I would either go placeholder or I would image everything. Some people say, well, limiting it to first 50 pages will give you like a preview of a document. I'm not really sold on that, but that's up to you if you want to have that. In the HTML section, I never had a need to change any of this, so I would say leave it alone. Same thing with the image printer, don't make any changes here. Earthfront view is a new option, so this is great that you can now use Earthfront view to image your documents. However, I don't have enough experience with this to talk about it. Passwords, again, this is very limiting. Why would you only have 3 passwords for Adobe and for Office? I just want to have all the passwords dumped into one place and then let LAW figure out which password worked and maybe have a field somewhere that stores it. But that's kind of how it works. It's a little frustrating, but this is where you could put passwords for imaging. PowerPoint, nothing really major here. Again, we have field codes as usual, and we can choose should we do slide notes and slides with a full page. Now, option for slides and notes full page will give you notes at the end of the page, on the next page. So this is a preferred format for SEC, I believe. Moving on to project, I don't generally change these settings, and I'm going to skip over and go to Word very quickly. what we have here is same deal with dates and times. You can turn these on or off and then show comments and revisions. Again, this is some of those things that client would have a preference. Do they want to see comments and revisions, or do they just want to see a final version of a document as an end user meant for it to be presented? There's no right or wrong answer here. This is something you speak to your client about. And finally, we get into tiff PDF options, and this is where we have a few interesting options. Color redaction, we generally go with black and white or optimal palette if you want to image in color. Drop blank pages. This option, what people think is, well, when I image Excels and I get lots of blank grid lines, it'll just drop them out. This option will not do that. This is looking for truly blank pages with just white and nothing else on them. So the only time it will work is if it's just white pages. This option can also screw you over. If you, let's say, have PDF files and there are blank pages inserted to sort of control front and back printing, or you need to have blank pages for some reason, this option will drop them out and you print out 1,000-page PDF file and you will wind up with 995 pages. And when your print department goes to print it out, they're gonna say, wait, what's going on? What's wrong with this? The page count doesn't match to the original. And it's like, oh man, this blank page drop-in was turned on, and just creates a confusion sometimes. Going down the list, overwrite existing files should be turned on, because if you re-image and you're replacing images. Placeholders, again, this is where you can go in and customize how the placeholders look. I generally like them to have as little information as possible. They just say document placeholder, that's it. Law likes to throw in all kinds of metadata, and sometimes clients don't want to put it in the placeholder because it may reveal something about that document that they may not want the other side to know. So whatever metadata is getting produced, it goes just to that file, not on the placeholder. And you can pre-select a bunch of different placeholders and so on. And some people like to do different placeholders. Some would say document, withheld because of this, document something else. Like I said, I prefer one placeholder that says document placeholder, and it doesn't even matter what it says. If it's a placeholder, it's a placeholder. You know what it is. You don't have to put different wordings on each one. You just, if you really want to, you add that field to a DAT file or separate privlog or something else. And lower after placeholders, we have save text with images. So if you're using Lexis image driver, there is something called printed text that gets extracted during print operation. That's the text that has all the page breaks and looks more like original printed file. So you can use that on the export if you'd like. A few things to keep in mind if you're tiffing in color. So you do need to set your optimal palette here. You want your color compression to be JPEG, but you also want to make sure that in Excel, you uncheck print black and white, and in PowerPoint, you select color. I've seen so many times when people went here, they set it to color, and then they had black and white options specified for a specific file type. I think there should be some kind of prompt that's built into Lawyers. When you select image and color, it should say, hey, these other file types are forced to black and white. Do you want me to change it for you? And then it'll just do it. All right, there you have it. That covers imaging in LAW PreDiscovery. Again, not super exhaustive list, but just what I have on my mind, what I think is important. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel for more videos like it, click on the bell if you want to be notified when I post new videos. If you have anything else to add, please post it in the comments below, and if you have any ideas for future videos, put them in the comments below as well. Thank you for watching.